Good morning, my dear students. My name is Polaj বিশ্বাস, Assistant Professor, JIS College of Engineering, Kolani, Department of Mechanical Engineering. And today discussions about to this the evolution of ISO 9000 standards. And this is my lesson number 20 of Quality and Reliability Engineering. And a few outlines also will be concentrated according to this the evolution of ISO 9000 standards. This will be the 1987 versions and the 1994 versions, the 2000 versions and the 2008 versions, 2015 versions, effectiveness and also the advantages will be discussed during to this these outlines. Evolution of ISO 9000 standards. The ISO 9000 standards is continually being revised by the standard technical committees and the advisory groups who receive the feedback from those professionals who are the implementing the standards here. And this will be the comes from this the different year, just like the 1987 the first editions will be comes from this the editions of ISO 9000 on. And another thing is the 1994 is comes from this the second editions, and the 2000 is the comes is the third editions, 2008 is the fourth editions will be comes during to the edition of ISO 9000 on, and also 2015 is the fifth editions will be comes to the edition of ISO 9000 on. In versions is the 9000 1987 versions. ISO 9000 ratio is the 1987 had the same structure as the UK standard BS, the 5750 with the three model for the quality management systems, the selections of which was the based on the scope of activities of the organizations. And the ISO 9000 on is to the 1987 model for the quality assurance is in design, and this is the quality assurance is the design and the development, production, installations and the servicing was for companies and organizations whose the activities included the creations of new products also will be concerned according to the ISO 9000 on is to 1987's model, but this will be depends on the servicing of the companies and organizations. And another things the ISO the 9002 is to the 1987 models, and for the quality assurance in a productions, and basically what is the quality assurance is the productions, and also this will be the installations and the servicing at basically the same materials, and this like concentrate according to this the assurance quality assurance in the production and also the like the installations, and that to this the servicing had the basically the same materials as the ISO 9000 on, but without converting this will be 9000 on, but this is the without converting the creations of a new products, and that's like the according to this the covering the creation of this the new product, this will be concentrated according to this the materials is ISO 9000 on, and this will be required for the creation of this new product. And another thing the ISO 9003 to 3 is to the 1987, and this will be depends is the ISO 9003, that like the ratio of this 1987 the model for quality assurance, this will be concerned according to this the model for this the quality assurance in final inspections, and that like record for this the final inspections and the test covered, and this will be the on test will be covered only the final inspection, like the required for this the final inspection, and also the on test covered also will be concerned according to this the products inspection of this the finished product, and this during to this the finished product always you have to record for this a final inspections also will be here, the either your product not will be given for this the model quality assurance, and this will be concerned, and with no concern for this how the product was produced, and with no concern also will be record for this how the product was produced. Another thing the ISO 9000 is to the 1987 was also influenced by existing US, and basically this is the comes from this the influence by existing the US and other defense standards. Defense standards also will be here, the MIL space SPECS also is here, and so was oil suited to manufacturing also is here. And the another things, the emphasis tended to the place, the emphasis tended to the placed on conformance with the procedures and rather than the overall process of management also will be here, which was likely the actual intended intent. The basically the emphasis tended to the placed on conformance with the procedure rather than the overall process of management, which was likely the actual intent is here. And the 1994 versions also is concerned. The ISO 9000 to 1994 emphasized the quality assurance via preventive actions. This will be emphasized quality assurance via the preventive actions also will be concerned. And the instead of just checking final product will be considered, the which is the just will be required for this the checking for this the final product and continue to require evidence. And the few evidence also will be concerned of this the compliance, the which type of evidence also will be considered according to this the compliance with the documented procedures. And the always you have to record through the documented, and these documented procedures also will be the compliance with the documented procedures. As with the first editions, the during to this the first editions, the downside was that companies tended to implement the downside was that companies tended to implement its requirements by creating safe loads. That is like the creating the safe loads. The according to it the self loading procedures manuals also will be given to this the provided the during to this the downsides or the companies tended to implements it the requirements by creating self loads of procedures manuals and becoming the burdens with an ISO bureaucracy. The in some companies adapting and improving process could actually be impeded by the quality management systems. And basically this will be the companies adapting and the improving process could actually be impeded by the quality management systems is here. And another thing is that the 2000 versions, the 2000 versions is the comes in the ISO 9000 on ratio is to the 2000, the replaced all three former standards for 1994 issues. 1994 issues the ISO 9000 on, ISO 9002 and the ISO 9003. This will be the design and the development procedures. The design and the development procedures are required only if a company does in fact engage in the creation, like the engage in the creation of new products. The 2000 versions sought to make a radical change. The 2000 versions sought to make a radical change in thinking by actually placing front and center the concept of process management, the monitorings and the optimizations of a company's takes and activities also will be here. The instead of just inspection of the final product, you have to concern according to this the monitorings and the optimizations of a company's tasks and activities. The instead of just inspections of the final products will become. The 2000 versions also demanded involvement by upper executives in order to integrate quality into the business systems and avoid avoid delegations of quality functions to junior administrators also will be concerned according to this the 2000 versions. And this will be the demand for this the involvements by this the upper executives, and this will be the quality functions for this the junior administrators also will be concerned according to this the 2000 versions. And another goal was to improve the effectiveness by the process parameters matrix. And this process parameters matrix, the numerical measurements of the effectiveness of tasks and the activities, and also the expectations of the continual process improvements and tracking customer satisfactions were made explicit also will be here. That like the expectations also will be the continual process, that like the improvements and the tracking customer satisfactions were made explicit also will be here. And another thing, the ISO 9000 requirements included, ISO 9000 requirements included the approved documents before distributions. That like the approved documents before distributions. The another things will be here. The provide correct versions of documents. The correct versions of documents at a point of usage. And another thing, the use your record to prove that the requirements have been met and the developments a procedures to control your records also will be concerned. Just like the you use your records to prove that the requirements have been met and developed a procedures to control your records also will be here. And the another thing is the 2008 versions. ISO 9000 on is to 2008 is essence re-narrates ISO 9000 on is to the 2000. The 2008 versions only introduce the clarifications to the existing requirements of ISO 9000 on is to 2000, and some change intended to improve consistency with the ISO 14000 on, the 1400 on to the 2004. There are no new requirements. There is no new requirements also will be here. For example, in ISO 9000 on is to the 2008, a quality management systems being upgraded just needs to be checked to see if it is following the clarifications introduced in the amendment versions also will be here. ISO 9000 on is supplemented directly by two other standards of the family. And another thing, the ISO 9000 is to the 2005, the quality management systems fundamentals and the vocabulary also will be here. ISO 9004 is to the 2009 is the managing for the sustained success of an organization. A quality management approach also will be given. Other standards like the ISO 19011 and the ISO 10,000 series may also be used for specific parts of the quality systems will be here. And the 2015 versions. The 2015 versions in 2012, the ISO TC 176 responsible for the ISO 9000 on developments celebrate 25 years of implementations ISO 9000, and concluded that it was necessary to create a new QMS model for the next 25 years. The subsequently commenced the official work on creating a versions of ISO 9000 on, starting with the new QM principles. The moment was considered by important specialists in the field as beginning of a new era in the development of quality management systems. As a result of the intensive work from this technical committee, the revised standards ISO 9000 on is to 2015 was published by ISO on 23 September 2015. And another thing, the scope of the standards has not changed. However, the structure and core terms were modified to allow the standard to integrate more easily with other international management system standards. The new ISO 9000 on to 2050 management system standards help ensure that consumers get reliable, desired quality goods and services. The further increases benefits for a business. The 2015 version is also less prescriptive than its procedures and focus on performance. This was achieved by combining the process approach with the risk-based thinking and the employing the plan to check act cycle at all levels in the organizations is here. And another things, some of the key changes includes the high level structure of 10 clauses is implemented. Now all new standards released by ISO will have this high level structure, greater emphasis on building a management system suited to each organization's particular needs and a requirement that those at the top of an organization be involved and accountable. The aligning the quality with our business strategy, risk-based thinking throughout the standard makes the whole management system a preventive tool and the encourage continuous improvements. Also, improvements is the concentrate. And another things is here the less perspectives requirements for this, the documentations, and the organizations can now decide what documented information it needs and what format it should be in. And the another things will be required for this, the alignments with other key management systems standards through the use of a common structures and the core text. The inclusion of knowledge management principles will be required during to this the system. The what is the knowledge management principles? And another thing is the quality manual and management representative that like the AMR are no longer mandatory. That like the quality management and the management representatives also will be are the no longer mandatories also will be here. And another things will be required for this the auditing. The auditing, the two types of auditing are required to become registered to the standards. The one is the auditing by an external certifications body, that like the external audits will be required, that like you will be given a certification, that like the first is the audits by this to this the company, that like the to the standards auditing by the external certifications body, that like the external audits and audits by internal staff. And this will be another things will be required, and the audits will be done by this the internal staff. Training trained for this process, that like the internal audits will be done during to this the each and every industry, because these internal audits will be the implemented to this the up to the mark during to this the external audit. For this the internal audit and the external audit will be required during to this the systems. And another things, the aim is a continual process of review and assessment to verify that the system is working as it is supposed to find out where it can improve. And basically the any assessment procedures will be required to this the improves, and the aim to this the continual process of review assessment to verify, and also the this systems is working as it is supposed to find out where it can improve the and to correct or prevent identified problems also will be here. It is considered the healthier for internal auditors, and this will be considered the healthier for the internal auditors to audit outside their the usual management line, and this will be the required for this the outside audit their usual management lines also will be here, so as to bring a degree of independence, that like the bring a degree of independence to their judgment, and that like required for this the judgment for this the degree of independence, that is like here. And another things is they concentrate according to this the effectiveness. The debate on the effectiveness of ISO 9000 commonly centers of the following questions. This will be the effectiveness or not, this will be depend on this the center of this the following questions also will be there. The one is the are the quality principles in ISO 9000 on of values. Now what is the value of the quality of principles in the ISO 9000 on? The does it help to implement an ISO 9000 on compliance quality management systems? That this will be the help to implement an ISO 9000 on compliance, that is like the quality management systems. And another things, that does it help to obtain the ISO 9000 on certifications? That this is the help to obtain the ISO 9000 on certifications. Either the effectiveness of the ISO systems being implemented depends on a number of factors. That like this effectiveness of ISO 9000 ISO systems being the implemented depends on a number of factors, the most significant of which are the commitments of senior management. That like this will be the commitment of senior management to monitor, that like the control and improve quality. That like the control and improve quality. The organizations that implement, this is the organizations that implement an ISO systems without this desired and the commitments often takes the cheapest road to get a certificates on the wall and ignore problems areas uncovered in the audits also will be here. Like this is the commitments. What is the senior management to monitor, control and improve quality? Organizations that implemented the ISO systems and that like the cheapest road to get the certificates on the wall and ignore problem areas uncovered in these audits. How well the ISO system integrates into current business practice. Sorry. The how well the ISO systems, just like the integrates into the current business practice. Either many organizations that implement ISO try to make their system fit into a cookie cutter quality manual instead of creating a manual that documents existing practice and only the added new process to meet the ISO standards when necessary. And another things, how well the ISO system focus on improving the customer experience. That like the focus on improving the customer experiences. The broadest definitions of quality is whatsoever the customers perceives goods quality to be. This means that a company does not necessarily have to make a product that never fails. That like the product is never fails. Some customers have a higher tolerance for product failures if they always receive shipments on time or have a positive experience in some other dimensions of customer service. And ISO systems should take into account the all areas of the customer experience and the industry expectations and seek to improve them on a continual basis. And another thing, this means taking into account all processes that deal with the key stakeholders, that like the customers, suppliers and organizations. That like these three stakeholders in the mean of this the account of process, and these three persons also will be the deal. And another things, only then can a company sustain improvements in the customer's experience only. And the another things will be there, the how well the auditor finds and communicates areas of improvements. Well, the ISO auditors may not provide the consulting to the clients they audit. This will be not the providing to the consultancy to the clients their audits. And another things will be there. There is the potential for auditors. The potential for auditor to point our areas of the improvements, and this will be given to the potential and for this the auditor, and this will be given to point out areas of the improvements. And many auditors simply rely on submitting report that indicates compliance or non-compliance also will be here. That's like the simply rely on the submitting reports that the indicates compliance or non-compliance with the appropriate sections of the standards. However, to most executives, this is like speaking a foreign language also will be here. this will be concerned according to this the executives, and this is the likely to this the speaking a foreign language, and the auditors that can clearly identify and communicates areas for improvements in language and terms. Executive management understand the facilitates actions on improvements innovatives by the companies they audit. And another thing, when the management does not understand why they are were non-compliant and the business implications associated with the non-compliance also will be here. They simply ignore the reports and focus on what they do understand. And a few advantages also will be concerned according to this. The proper quality management can improve the business, often having a positive effect on investments, market share, sales growth, sales margin, competitive advantage, and the avoidance of litigations. The quality principles in ISO 9000 to 2000 are also sound. According to Poet and Brains, who says that ISO 9000 guidelines provide a comprehensive model for the quality management system that can make any company competitive. Sarof and Karkovic 2008 found benefits ranging from the registrations required to remain part of its supply base, better documentations, to cost benefits and improve involvement and the communications with the management. According to ISO and the 2015 versions of the standard brings the following benefits. By, assess, by assessing their context, organizations can define who is accredited by their work and what they accept. This enables clarity, stated business objectives, and the identifications of new business opportunities. Organizations can identify and address the risk associated with their organizations. By putting customers first, organizations can make sure they consistently meet customers' needs and enhance customers' satisfactions. This can lead to more repeated customers, new clients, and the increased business for the organizations. And another thing, the organizations work in a more efficient way as all their processes are aligned and understood by everyone. This increases productivity and the efficiency, bringing internal costs down. Is here. The organizations will meet necessary statutory and the regulatory requirements also will be here. And the organizations can expand into new market as some sectors and clients require the ISO 9000 on before doing business. And the next class we can discuss the ISO 14000 series of standards. Thank you, my dear student.